being served a Jess Cooks meal on a flight from BA, I think would be a great
Genius.
alternative to the dross that sometimes used to get dished up there. Good morning and welcome back to yet another Brand Designs here with myself and Nathan Lomax from Quickfire Digital. Good morning, Nathan. How are you?
Good morning, James. Very well, thank you. Yourself?
Fantastic, not too bad. We are joined today by the fantastic Jess McKenzie from Jess Cooks. Good morning, Jess. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you.
Welcome to Brand Designs.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah. She won't necessarily be saying that in the next 45 minutes, but we'll see how that goes. So just as a starter for 10, we always start with a kind of a very kind of standard kind of question to get under the skin of what is Jess Cooks all about. So what made you start the business, and kind of what was your kind of reasoning for Jess Cooks coming about? Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So I'll try not to waffle on too much about the kind of the history, but because it's a bit long-winded. But essentially, I spent about 10 years running my own children's cookery business prior to launching Jess Cooks. So when my kids were little, that worked really, really well around them and being a mum of young children. So obviously, I'm interested in food but particularly in the area of kind of feeding kids, and I always used to get very kind of fiery and passionate about children not learning enough about food and cooking in school, and I've always been a huge fan of Jamie Oliver and his school dinners campaign, and efforts to get kids eating more healthily, and encouraging kids to expand their diet and eat new foods and generally get excited about food. So that worked really well with young kids, but I kind of really wanted to move things on when my kids got older and started school, and suddenly noticed at the same time that there was very little out there on the market in terms of kind of healthy convenience options for children who weren't toddlers anymore, so who had grown, who were perhaps starting school or were in the latter stages of preschool. And I just found this really surprising, and I noticed amongst my kind of friends, and sometimes amongst my, with myself as well, how often I and my friends when working mums, short of time, working dads too, were falling back on essentially frozen junk, because we just didn't have the time to batch cook or cook from scratch every night. And when you're doing school runs and play dates and swimming lessons and parties and brownies, and the kids are getting in at 5:30 starving, sometimes often you need to have a meal on the table within about 10 minutes. And I just found that there was just so little out there for older children. A friend suggested to me, you've got all this knowledge from, I worked out once that I'd cooked in my former business with about 600 odd kids. I thought that's loads of kind of knowledge to have in the bank about what kids like to eat and how kids eat. And so, I started to kind of tinker around with recipes that kids had enjoyed in those classes. And around about the same time, I teamed up with an amazing mentor, a business mentor, who is still very much part of my working life now and has been incredible on this journey. And so we started to kind of work out how we might be able to perhaps bring a kids range to market, and how we could really make it different from what was out there already in terms of the baby and toddler meals that were on offer, and create a much bolder, more exciting range of foods that might appeal to slightly older children. And so, that's how kind of Jess Cooks came about, really, in a nutshell.
And so, Jess, how long has it been going now as Jess Cooks? And also, what are some of the hurdles that you've come across along the way that you wouldn't mind sharing? Because I'm sure a lot of the challenges that you've faced, and a lot of the challenges we'll discuss today, actually many owner-founders in your position have either come across or are about to come across. So it'd be great to dive into some of those and see not only what you've come across, but then how you've solved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, like my own kind of lack of confidence has often been something I've had to challenge myself, and been challenged by my mentor and my husband on, is just like, just get on with it, just do it, stop dithering, just stop procrastinating, just stop worrying, just do it. And if that bit goes wrong, then that's fine. You'll pick yourself up and you'll find another way, but just do it. Just keep moving. And yeah, I think my own personal lack of confidence has been a real kind of challenge as well. And then I suppose the biggest, like, I was thinking about the biggest sort of logistical challenge was probably the first order I got from the co-op, because still producing it myself in my own rented premises. I'm looking at changing that really soon. But the first order I got from the co-op was for about 1,000 meals. So that was probably the most stressful 2 or 3 weeks of my life, trying to manage that order and get that out the door on my own. That was crazy.
Touched a little bit there, Jess, around confidence, and I'm keen to pick up on that because it's such a crying shame that, and I don't want to pry too much into the situation as I get it's very personal, but so many owner founders have such a crippling self-confidence issue, which I don't know where it's manifested from, and I get everyone may be different, but at the same time there is just something in almost the British society which stops people chasing their dreams and ambitions for this fear. And it's like no one can put their finger on what caused it or why it is. I mean, can you shed any more light into why you think yours is? Why do you have such confidence issue? Because the product's fantastic, you're fantastic. What possibly is holding you back?
It's probably just a good old fear of failure. I think it's probably
right.
It's the fear that you're gonna. I think because you have to invest. It's not just a business, and I'm absolutely serious when people say it's like your third child. You know, over the last 2 years, I've easily, I don't know if this sounds terrible or not, but I've easily invested as much emotionally in this business as I have in my 2 kids. Like it's because you get to a stage as a mother where your children are a bit older and a bit more independent, and you kind of look ahead to, well, what do I want for myself now? What do I want for the next 10 years? Now my kids don't need me as much. And I've always known I would want something for myself. But I'm not getting any younger, obviously. I'm not like lots of founders. I probably don't have the gung-ho, slightly kind of naive attitude of a 23-year-old doing it. There's probably more at stake for me now that I'm 40 now, and I don't have as much time left career-wise to make mistakes and to cock it up. So I think it probably is that fear of failure and that fear of working so hard for something. Always in the back of your mind, well, there's that little voice saying, well, what if it doesn't work and you look like a total idiot? Which is actually silly, because when I really think about it, everyone's behind you. Everybody's willing you on. And if it were to fail, everybody would be, I'm sure, so lovely and so proud of what's been achieved.
I would just challenge that. I would just say, like, surely it can't fail now. Like, you've already succeeded. Getting it into the co-op and getting it to market is arguably success to many people. And I think that's something as owner founders, it's very easy to forget, is actually what does success look like and what does failure look like. And actually the fact that you've already provided 1,000 meals to co-op, to many people, that is success, right? You've done it. You like, pat on the back, you made it.
Now,
Yeah, well, exactly. You look at I think it was Colonel Sanders from KFC or whatever he's called. I'm pretty sure he didn't actually come up with that concept until really quite late in life. I think he was late into his 60s, or whoever came up with it. There are so many owner founders that age shouldn't be a barrier. It doesn't matter if you're 30. We had someone on the brand designs on a previous episode. Him and his son started their brownie business, and his son's 13. Like, that's really cool. But likewise, amazing. You can start at 70. There really is no magic number of when you should start, or you don't have to fall in line with everyone else. But I just think it's such an important topic, and I appreciate nothing I've kind of briefed you on about what we might discuss. But so many owner founders come to us with this crippling self-confidence issues, and then you just think, well, actually, you're benchmarking yourself against, I'll only be successful if I do this or hit this or hit that. But actually just getting up and doing something different and being prepared to challenge the norm and being prepared to go against the grain is success in itself. And that's a massive achievement that shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah, that's true. And I was thinking about, like, how do you kind of, when you've had a knockback or you have those inevitable days where you feel like, oh, this is never going to work, or haven't achieved anything, this week, those down days. When you then, I find that looking back on everything that's been achieved so far really helps to kind of give you that boost. Because when you actually analyze, like you say, 1,000 meals for the co-op, or even just getting listed by the co-op, setting up my Shopify site, all the things I've done, on my own, it's, that kind of, you do then sort of feel a real sense of pride. And, oh, well, if it all went tits up tomorrow, then there'd still be a lot to be proud of. So yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think the age thing as well, I'm really glad I'm doing this now and not when I was 24, because I knew nothing when I was 24, and it almost certainly would have, I wouldn't have got nearly as far as I have now. But the life experience I have now, I just think I couldn't have done it at any other time in my life. So yeah, I'm pleased I didn't go. I'm pleased that I'm doing it now. I don't think there'd be a better time for me to do it. So yeah.
Role models are incredibly important, which I suppose, just kind of coming back to the mentoring conversation that you said you very early on in your journey, you found or knew a mentor that stepped in and kind of have supported you still to this day. What was a couple of things. One is, what was that realization that was needed? And two, how did you find them?
Well, I just got incredibly lucky. So it was when I was still running the cooking club, so the business I ran previous to this, and I knew I wanted to try and scale it. I knew I had this I wanted to build a business, a successful business. And it was successful, but it was still very small scale, and I wanted to find a way to scale the business. And so I got in touch with a charity that's local that works with women, setting them up with sort of life skill mentors or business mentors. And this was the first time my business mentor, Alison, had done any coaching, and she had some experience in food and bev. And so they matched us together, and it was the first time I'd had any mentoring. So I was her first mentee, and straight away we just hit it off really well. And when I put the idea of launching this kids range to her, I thought she would be like, well, you'll be up against Birdseye and McCain, and that would be a really tough nut to crack. And instead she was like, that's brilliant. I love the idea. Let's do this. We can do this. And just like the other day, I phoned her. We had a chat, a Zoom the other day, and I was really flat and very down. I think it was towards the end of lockdown, and I was like, I just don't know if I can do this, and blah blah. The next day, she was really encouraging. And the next day, a big bunch of flowers turned up at my house, and she'd with a card saying, "You're doing so well," and just willing me on, really. So she's just been instrumental, really to especially the lone founder. I don't have a business partner, or I'm not a co-founder. So just to have someone that who knows what they're talking about, who I can go to and say, I'm just really not sure about this. And, she's
is that a consideration? Is that a consideration for the future, looking for a co-founder or a partner you can kind of collaborate on and get some of that or almost moral support outside of your close family?
I would love to find a co-founder. Yeah, someone. I mean, I think it would be a challenge now, because obviously it's been nearly 2 years of doing it on my own. So there would be, I suppose, a challenge involved in handing the reins over to someone else. But I think it would be worth it just for, if that person had, particularly if that person had lots of the skills that I don't have. Yeah. Then I think it would be fantastic to have a co-founder. And it's something my husband's always saying to me, you're doing this alone, you need someone else with you in your corner, like to back you up and to just bounce off, really, and to kind of to take some of the strain as well as the wins, obviously. So I would love to find, if the right person came along, that would be fantastic to find out.
So I think it's sharing a rein each in many ways. It's something Nathan and I sometimes pick up on separately, because we each are one of a trio. And the one thing we find is that it's great to, over time, some people talk about the storming, norming, and the storming, forming, and norming kind of mentality. So as a group of people, you're really kind of battling at the first juncture to find out where you fit and where your kind of your skills and your gaps are, and then the forming piece is where it all starts to kind of gel together, and then it just becomes normal behaviour until someone tries to stick their hand up and go, I want to do what you do, I'm bored over here, which sometimes happens in some businesses. But no, that kind of sharing the reins bit, hopefully if you find someone in the future, that would be amazing to kind of share those reins with you. We often see it coming in the shape of a finance or a commercial co-founder to support the creativity of some of the owner founders we talk to. So
absolutely, yeah, I think, and it can be lonely. It really can, like when it's just you. So it's you have to have the ability to kind of continually G yourself up and just keep pushing and be quite bullheaded about it, I think, because otherwise that little voice inside that would just take over. So you have to be able to kind of quash that, and you have to be really self-motivated, I think, is the kind of key.
We'd love to share the name of that charity, if that's all right. What's the name of the charity that you kind of went to for that kind of mentoring support?
Oh, they were called Dream On. So they were recommended by a friend who had worked with a mentor for her business. They're based there. They just work with women in my area in Suffolk. So they were brilliant. They were great.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Sorry, Nathan.
We'll have to check them out. No worries. I wanted to ask Jess about how you could get there quicker. And bear with me here, because I'm going to change the question, because I just think there's a massive just kind of buzz in the entrepreneurship world around this hustle, and you've got to grind and you've got to get up earlier and go to bed later, and you've lost all sense of patience and the fact that these things take time. And I am the absolute worst for this. I always want everything yesterday, and so for me it's just like, okay, well, why can't we get there quicker? But so I'm not going to ask you how you got there quicker, but what I am going to ask you is how you could have got to your destination in a different way, with perhaps without as much pain on the journey. So is there anything that you've done that you think, if I'd known that now, I would have done that slightly differently, or I should have done this differently, etc. For example, you getting into co-op, obviously now you know how to do it. I'd like to think you could almost rinse and repeat that model into a Sainsbury's or into another supermarket chain or into another set of stores. But yeah, what else have you learned on this journey that you think, I should have done that a bit differently, and now with that wisdom I would do differently?
Yeah, see, I was thinking about that, and when I actually think about it, I'm not sure that there is anything that I would do differently, purely because it's you can't learn without doing it. It's a process. Like you there is no fast track. You've got to make the mistakes to learn how to do it right. And I honestly can't think of any other way that I would have got to where I am. I probably would have had more confidence to do things. And probably, I think what I tended to do in the earlier days was listen to lots of advice. And I'd have lots of people advising me. And then I'd have all these voices and different things. Some people were saying one thing and some people were saying another thing, based on their different opinions. And rather than listening to what I thought and what my gut feeling was saying, I would then dither and prevaricate about what all this different advice I was getting, or all these different things I'd read. And I think probably if I'd just been a bit more, if I just just gone for it and listened to myself more, then I probably wouldn't. Then I probably could have got to where I am, or got a bit faster. But yeah, there's no like absolute howlers that I kind of wish I wouldn't have done, because I just see it as a process. Like I couldn't have got to where I am without making the kind of going down a few dead ends, if you see what I mean. And then you learn, well, that's a dead end, so I won't do that again, and this will be the right track. And that's everything from making decisions on packaging and labeling and delivery and all the logistical stuff, or you only find out that certain things won't work by getting them wrong. And then you kind of, if you didn't kind of make those wrong decisions, or hit those dead ends, you wouldn't kind of learn. And so it's all part of it. It's all the process.
Just building on that, one of the guys we had in the previous episode, Melvin J, super guy from Gunner Drinks, we were talking about how he outsourced a lot of his early on processes because actually he wanted to really focus on just decisions that were going to drive the business forwards, and actually logistics, etc., were all outsourced. I guess you've gone about it a slightly different way, and you've tried to do everything yourself, which also there's a lot to be said for that model. What was the reason behind trying to do everything yourself as opposed to outsourcing it? Was it purely to manage costs, or was there other thoughts around?
No,
I
because
want
it's a
to be able
much
to
more
do everything
expensive
myself.
way of doing it. It's a
So
much more
why did
doing
you
it
go
myself.
about this? What made you want
Because
to do that?
I think probably what my husband would say is I didn't think big enough from the start. So I think probably that's a really good point, actually. Probably one of my biggest mistakes is thinking too small. So rather than launching the business and thinking big straight away, I kept it at the kitchen table stage for too long, I think, probably. So because, again, coming back to that, I didn't have the confidence to think, lots and lots of people are going to want to buy this. I just thought, well, if I keep it local, then I won't get rejected by anyone, and it'll be nice, and and everything. And actually, you are putting yourself out there with every product that goes on the shelf. Every person that sort of says, "Well, that's too expensive," or "That's not for me," or your part of you is in that pack. So that it's that kind of doing that on a national level, I suppose. I just thought kind of, oh well, I'll just wait and I'll see how it goes. And I think that's definitely something that I should have thought bigger from the start, I think, and actually been investigating kind of outsourcing the manufacturing, outsourcing fulfillment, that kind of thing much earlier on. But it's just having the confidence to think it can go that far, I suppose, has taken me a while to dig that up.
There's a couple of things. There's a couple of bits around. If you do go big quick, are you comfortable that the quality of what you wanted to create is still going to be there? How much of it is a bit of a control freak kind of thing? Because I'm
the most appalling control freak. Yeah, the most absolutely awful control freak. So and I think you're right. Yes, wanting to keep the production in-house is definitely part of kind of wanting to maintain that quality and that standard that you're probably, there's always that fear that, you won't be able to replicate. But at the same time, there's no, if it's not possible to replicate to scale that quality and those standards, then you haven't got a viable business. So, obviously I'll always want Jess Cooks to be of the quality that I expect and that my customers would expect. And that's one of the kind of pillars of the brand, is that, it is a product that looks and tastes homemade. It's made in the same way as you would make it at home, that you can trust to be as good as a home cooked meal for your kids. And not, there's nothing funny added. There's frozen, so it's naturally preserved. There's no artificial preservatives or anything like that. So, I want it to be, a product that mums such as myself can trust and not feel guilty about giving their kids. And I suppose I probably did worry about whether that would be achievable at scale. But as people have told me, Jess, you don't have to make every single bloody portion yourself for it to be a great product. And I think, that's probably taken me a while to catch onto that. Yeah.
Especially when you start to get into the multiples. Because ultimately, as you said, the first order comes through for 1,000 units. Lots of owner founders are kind of, I really want that first order. And then the realization of, oh my God, I've got to have the cash to actually buy the ingredients to make this product that the multiple might even have on what they call option. So they'll have it and you'll send them 250 and they'll tell you, well, you've now got to hold the other 750 for us until we're ready for it. So there's dealing with the multiples is challenging, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I have to say, East of England Co-op are lovely. They have been so great to work with, and made lots of allowances for me and the size of my business, and yeah, I think, you know, it wasn't that, when you were talking, Nathan, about kind of, surely it's a logical step to then, if you're in the East of England co-op, you know, surely it's a logical step to just replicate that with the multiples. But I wish it were that simple. But I think part of the appeal with the East of England co-op is that they're very much geared towards local products, and so they loved it straight away because it was a local product. Although saying that, like, I've had interest from, you know, regional supermarkets up north and the Central England co-op. So I don't think that's the only thing that appeals. I think that most retailers, a lot of buyers have said, I can definitely see that there's a gap in the market for this, and they're kind of on board with that. So yeah, but the co-op have been really kind and really, really nice. I don't expect that kind of those kind of allowances to be made by the majors. So I'm sort of waiting, kind of with everything crossed, for that. Hopefully I can even just get an in with them, let alone, and then hoping I'll be able to deal with the technicalities and the logistics as and when if they come up, if they, you know, yeah, if they are even interested, which I hope they are. But
so Jess, we talked last time about some kind of celebrity endorsement or a brand that really resonates with the product. Of all the celebrities out there, is there one that you think, oh, I'd love them to be affiliated with the product because they really stand for what my product's all about?
Oh, goodness. Well, I said I was a fan of Jamie. I know he doesn't do any affiliations, but I know that kind of kids, he doesn't do any celebrity endorsements rather, but he's a massive hero of mine. I loved good old Joe Wicks. I'd love to get him on board. He's got 2 kids. He's a working dad. His wife is a working mum, and he's got a very similar ethos to food and eating and staying healthy. He would be amazing to have on board. So he would be kind of right up there with somebody who I would love to have endorsing the brand. Definitely.
Challenge accepted. We'll have to see who knows Joe Wicks and how we can get you in there. I'm sure someone listening will know Joe Wicks, and if you do, reach out, because we'd love to get him supporting Jess Cooks and see where we can take that partnership.
Yeah, happily send him as many free samples as he wants.
How, as a little bit of a product question, how do you go about devising new ranges and new kind of products that you want to get into the mix? Who are your taste testers? Are they the family or?
Well, so I did recently launch 2 new vegetarian, one vegan, one vegetarian meal, which are doing really well. So I desperately want to get more vegetarian options on the menu, because I've clearly discovered that there is a big, I think there aren't that, well, I don't know how many solely vegan vegetarian kids there are, but I do know that there are lots and lots of most families I know are trying to eat a more flexi diet, including their kids. So those have, I think, I get lots of people ordering a mix of the vegetarian and the meat-based dishes, because they want the kids to start introducing them to vegan and vegetarian food. But my testers, so for the new vegetarian options were, I basically just put a thing out on Facebook to my customers and said, I need taste testers, quick, come and, and I got lots of people back, and I just did a little whiz round Suffolk and dropped off lots of samples to various mums, and got some great feedback on those. So, I'm lucky in that because I'm selling locally, I'm selling nationally online now, but I'm in the East of England co-op, and people are so supportive and been so amazing in my local area. So I now have a really nice network of families, and particularly mums, who, if I put something out there and say, look, I really need your advice on this, I really need your help, I need your feedback, they're all really willing to help. So that's been amazing. And initially, with the initial product range, I just gave loads out to mums at various different primary schools, and kind of got loads of feedback from mums are always willing to grab a hold of free food for their kids, so I didn't have any problem finding taste testers.
Absolutely.
As long as I don't have to cook, then that's no problem at all. That was great. Luckily, because because I am my target market, I am a mum with young-ish children. They were a lot younger when I launched, but I have ready access to, you know, to people who might become my customers, because I'm in with the school, and you know, and I have plenty of kind of taste testers on hand when I need them. So yeah, that's
So
been
just
great.
one question I've got is around really when the first hire is going to come in the business, because many owner founders will not be sure about when that time is to get that first person. We've talked about possibly a co-founder coming into the business, which might be able to kill two birds with one stone. But when do you think it's going to be time to, again, we've talked in this episode about almost it being your third child. And so it seems very alien to just let your third child be looked after or cared for by somebody else. But at some point, as you do want to scale, you are going to have to let go. When do you think that moment's going to come where you've got to say, you know what, I've got to let someone else come in and take some of the reins here?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think pretty soon, I hope. I don't think I'll be in a position to make like a full-time hire, but there are two kind of ideal kind of, you know, that I have a wish list. I'd love to get somebody on board to help with sales. So I'd love to have a part-time sales director on board who could who has some, you know, some contacts and more contacts than I do, and who knows how to deal with those buyers, and who knows what those buyers are looking for, and who knows how to kind of put a really great engaging pitch together. Who can make inroads into the other kind of areas that I don't know so much about, such as food service, and with the distributors in that kind of area. And then the other hire, which is probably even more of a priority, would be someone to handle the marketing and PR. So that mostly including the social side of things. So start implementing a Facebook ads campaign, and start really pushing things on the socials, and hopefully, you know, with the press, and trying to get the brand really out there and well known, and get it established in people's minds. So yeah, I think those are the two hires. Those are on my wish list for the next few months or so. Because I think those are the things that I probably need the most help with. Yeah.
We almost have our fourth guest behind us on the screen there, a cat of some description.
That's Casper, my cat.
Will clearly be adding more value than I ever could in any kind of interview.
He's looking very suspicious, isn't he?
But I suppose so. We're coming to near the end of the session now. But in terms of what's next for Jess Cooks? What's kind of in the near future for you?
Sure. So the next few months, I hope, fingers crossed, I'm just pitching for my first round of seed funding, for my first round of investment. So that is going to be the fuel that I need to kind of, you know, to fire the next few months, I hope, and to, you know, hopefully take on those hires that you were mentioning, and really kind of catapult the business onto the next level. In the shorter term, I really want to focus on the D2C. So there's loads of irons in the fire, I suppose. So I'm talking to a manufacturer who is hopefully I'm going to be able to outsource production to, which will allow me to build volume, and also then focus my attentions on the other areas of the business that need my attention. And then so that there's that, and you know, kind of happening. So focusing on really building the D2C customer base, and building traction there, because that gives you a great basis. If you've got traction there, you can then take it to the retailers and say, look, I know people want this product. And look how many customers I already have, and it just gives you a great basis to take it, you know, further. So the long-term plan, I think, is to certainly to move into retail, but I will always want to keep that D2C side of things going, just because I think that it's so important now. You know, we've seen over lockdown that is the way many people are shopping, and expect to be able to shop now. And it's just, I love the fact that you can have that direct relationship with your customer and, you know, engage with them in a way that you just can't do when they're buying it in a shop. You can really you really have your finger on the pulse of what your customer is buying and wanting and expecting. So yeah, so D2C in the short term, retail in the kind of, you know, looking to in the longer term to build that side as well.
So Jess, parting thoughts from yourself for all those ladies or gentlemen, but let's focus on ladies for now, or mums that are maybe thinking that the ship has sailed, it's too late for them to go on their entrepreneurial journey. They can't do it. They're not good enough. They might fail. What have you got to say to those people?
Well, that's just, you know, not true. Just put those thoughts aside. Like there's no substitute for life experience. And, you know, I know that now I've hit my 40s that I have so much more knowledge, so much more confidence, even despite what I was saying earlier, than I did when I was in my 20s. And, you know, just so many more life skills that are just so important when it comes to launching a business. And you will be surprised how much you can implement all the personal and life skills that you have learnt, and any kind of jobs that you've had before. You'll find that you'll dig out skills that you've learned through any careers or jobs that you've done before and be able to use them, because, you know, there's so many different skills involved in launching a business. And you know, the more life you have behind you and the more career experience, even if it's in a totally different area that you have behind you, the better, I think. But you've just got to do it. Like, stop dithering, stop prevaricating, just get on with it and do it, because, you know, no one's going to do it for you, basically.
Jess, that's a perfect note to finish on. And I think, an inspirational story for many out there. And I'm sure that Jess would love to keep tabs of your kind of journey over the next 6 to 12 months, and to get you back onto the show and to hear when you're kind of all over the world selling these meals. And it's so exciting, but you've got to think big. You've got to keep thinking big. And I can't wait to see where this is going to go.
Being served a Jess Cooks meal on a flight from BA, I think would be a great alternative to the dross that sometimes used to get dished up there. So for anyone watching, thank you, Jess, for your time today. Inspirational, as Nathan said. So for anyone listening or watching, then jesscooks.co.uk, absolutely go and get yourself one of the mixed bundles. There's some fantastic stuff in there, everything which I would never have thought of putting in front of my children. Mild jerked chicken curry, which sounds an absolute winner. I'm now desperate for lunch. But
that's probably bestseller. Like, but yeah, you wouldn't think so, but it is.
No, I was going to say that's not. My 16-year-old would look at it and go, "Oh, I'm not sure about that. It's got spices in it."
No chili. There's no chili in anything. So yeah, it's not.
But have a great rest of your week, and thank you for coming on Brand Designs.
Thanks.
From myself and Nathan, we'll keep in touch, and good luck.
That'd be great. Take care, guys. Thanks very much.
Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again. See you too.
So from myself and Nathan, thanks again for an amazing another Brand Designs with Jess from Jess Cooks. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode very soon.
Take care. Thank you.